Well, welcome everyone to our Chesapeake Film Festival podcast. This is episode number 3. We are so excited to be here today again. We have an awesome guest. I am super excited. My name is Irene Magafan. I am the president of the Chesapeake Film Festival and just very excited for Rebekah Louisa Smith, all the way from hot Dallas, Texas. I'm so excited to see her. She's quite the trooper today, and we have a lot we would love to cover with Rebekah. She has such a fascinating, I mean, if I could be a fly on the wall, Rebekah, and follow you around for like a week and just to see what you do, how you analyze films, analyze audiences, get like in their minds, I'm fascinated. And I want to talk about some of the films that you brought to our festival, but I would like for you to introduce yourself and share with us. I mean, I would love for you to talk about your PhD. I'm really interested actually in your PhD. I think it's fascinating, and I can tell you there's most people probably have no idea you could even get your PhD in like audience analysis and film, you know? So, um, welcome. I am super excited to have you, and thank you so much for joining
Well,
us.
thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of your festival, and Sid and yourselves are like legends, and how you look after filmmakers is great. It's one of my favorites, so thank you. It's great to be here. Yeah, so I'll start by telling you a bit more about me and my company. So my name, obviously, as we said, is Rebecca Louisa Smith. I'm British and live in Dallas, Texas, in this heat, so I'm just sweltering in my house at the minute. Um, and I started my company, the Film Festival Doctor, in 2010. It was a very small company at that point, and I identified a gap in the market. So I was co-producing a film festival in Aberystwyth in Wales at the time, and I was really enjoying like working in the film festival scene. I preferred it to academia because I didn't want to be in academia all my life, I realized, but I loved film festivals. And I asked all the filmmakers I was hanging out with at the festival what they liked and disliked about film festivals. And they all said the same thing. We love film festivals, but we don't know how to get our films into festivals. There's nobody really to help and guide us, just hoping for the best and submitting, submit and see what happens, throw spaghetti at the wall. We don't really know what we're doing. So that'd be nice. So I was like, oh, this is obviously there's a massive gap in the market here. I thought I'm going to fill this gap. So I did some research and thought, let me give it a go. And where we are now, so like now in 2025, it is now an established brand, which I'm very proud of building. And I love what I do. And it's, as you say, it's being a fly on the wall in my office is very interesting. Lots of moving parts, lots of all sorts of things to analyze and how you create and shape a strategy. But it's a lot of fun and extremely rewarding.
So, I find that really fascinating, Rebekah. So you found, that's a great example of you found a gap in a market that you love and you've made a career out of it. And you know what else? You're changing people's lives. You're helping them along the way. I mean, I'm also a filmmaker, and I remember when I made my first film, I was on Film Freeway, and I had no idea
Yeah.
what I was doing. I mean, there were only, I don't know, like 2 million film festivals to choose from, and I had a small budget, so I needed to be strategic. So I wish I would have known you then when I was a graduate student because I was just lost. I was trying to be strategic, going after certain genre festivals, but you you're really helping people in their film festival journey. Such a big part of the journey is the festival market in and of itself and the impact that your film has on audiences. So that brings
Yes.
me to my next question. You have your PhD in film and audience analysis.
Yes.
I find that fascinating because what I love to do is when I'm watching a film, whether it's my film or someone else's, half the time I watch the audience watch the film. Or for
Yes.
example, at work when I've made a video, I will watch my colleagues watch the film and watch their reactions. That to me is just really good feedback. So can you talk to our audience? Tell us about your PhD. What exactly is audience analysis? What did you have to do during your PhD
No,
to
I've always been fascinated with, kind of audience analysis and how people respond to film, and more so with Tarantino. So the PhD is a case study, and it looks at how people respond to Quentin Tarantino's films, because he is a director who has a very emotional fan base, a very attached fan base, who tend to be male, but his biggest fan bases are in the UK and USA. So that was a good starting point to do this cross-cultural kind of research. And if there's patterns between both countries or similarities or big differences. And we were like analyzing these theories that people presume of filmmaker, of, sorry, of film audiences And if then we assessed if they were accurate or not. And it turns out with Tarantino's fans, he was a great case study because these theories were just not precise, accurate at all. And it was amazing to see the research findings that we got. So we did it many years ago. This was back in like probably 2007. I began this research, or 2008. And at that time, the film that came out in the theaters was Grindhouse. He did a film called Death Proof as part of a double bill with Robert Rodriguez called Planet Terror. So I focused on that film. And this was before the gift of Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest and LinkedIn became like very useful for businesses. So it was all done via an online forum. And I put my questionnaire in their forum, and all the fans of Tarantino, it's called the Tarantino Archives, responded, very willingly. And I had loads of responses. I had probably just under 1,000 from UK and USA. And it was fascinating to see the similarities because it was always men that loved his films. But what was really interesting was that it was Tarantino's dialogue that formed the emotional connection to then make them feel they were like part of his world and his characters, and they felt like his characters were real people that they could hang out with, and they saw him as a father figure. It was fascinating, and it was very useful research. There's been papers published on it. I did a few back in 2010, I think. And also it's that kind of like analysis in terms of looking at patterns, identifying how people respond, and just looking through ins and outs of questionnaires really helped me figure out how to create a festival strategy, looking at patterns in audience trends. So they're kind of connected in a way. They don't seem that they are connected, but the way that how you do a PhD and manage a big project and break that down, identify trends and figure out, what goes where, is what you do in a PhD. So although I didn't go into the academic world and go into that world of research and design, I did still use a lot of those important skills to build up the business.
Yeah, very cool. That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, so much, there's so much work and time and devotion that goes into the line of work that you do.
Yes.
You're not just taking someone's film and looking to see what festivals they might be, they might do well at. I mean, it's so much more than that. And I think the audience analysis part of it is fascinating. Quentin Tarantino has quite the following,
He
and
does.
he is unapologetically him, and his films are also unapologetically their films. And that's what I love about him. He is just so in his zone. And you're right, he has a very, very devoted following. Out of so many filmmakers, why did you choose to look at him in particular? What is
So I'm a personal fan, but also when I'm a fan of like a film or a film director or some kind of like culture, I'll study it like really in depth and go really deep, take a deep dive and figure out all like the patterns, you could say. And him I really admire because I love most of his films. And I just thought that he'd be a great case study to really challenge these kind of theories because his fan base is just very different, I feel, to other directors. It's just something about his fans, as I did interact with them in the archives and online before everyone did a Facebook group, and I saw like the responses were very powerful and and very much like looking at Tarantino as this almost like godlike figure, but looking at just how different his work was, and his appreciation was another level. And I was thinking there's definitely something here that is really worth studying, and I've always been fascinated with his work and just seeing his work grow and challenge people. And when Pulp Fiction came out, seeing the change of cinema. So and there's a lot of work on Tarantino. There's a lot of stuff written about him and his films, but not about his audience. There's a nice gap to fill there. So just finding these tiny little gaps to fill.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for that. I also wanted to I wanted to focus on the fact that mental health is very important to you. So,
Yeah.
you're a change agent. You're an agent of change, and you focus on film festivals, of course, but also mental health. Can you talk a little bit about how you've integrated mental health into your work?
Yes. So this all kind of came about when I noticed that a lot of clients were getting very, very stressed and on edge about getting rejections, not being able to take them in a way that was maybe helpful. And this all started when more films seemed to have got made and there was less slots at festivals because there were more festivals, but there was still twice as many films made to like not be able to program everything because the market changed after quite a while. And I remember when a filmmaker came to me and she said, I just cannot take this rejection. And she was being very honest and said, I'm taking it too personally. I said, I really need some help with this. And she was honest about it. And I noticed that other filmmakers were in the same situation as her, but not really able to recognize it. So I decided to really make, not a point, but really make a kind of carve out another niche for looking after your mental health on the film festival circuit, because it's a very intense and stressful process. Dealing with rejection, going to festivals is like work, but getting into a festival is the part where people can get quite anxious. So I thought, let's turn it around. Let's see rejection as being helpful. So with this particular client, she came to me, I'm doing a lot of submissions before, and they weren't really the right kind of festivals for her particular film. So I didn't know it would occur, but then she was taking it very difficult because she started to take it personally. So I thought, right, what's rejection telling you is that it's not going to be the right kind of film for this kind of level and tier. But if we niche it down to like genre festivals and women's festivals, it's going to be the right audience here. That's what that no is saying. The no is not saying, I don't like you, your work is not very good, it's a bad review. It means the opposite. It's actually being more helpful by saying, they just can't do anything with it, these festivals, but then another type of festival will. And that's what this rejection is helping us do. It's actually turning things around for you. And then she saw it differently. I was like, oh, okay, great. And then stuff started to work and things started to change. But it's a hard thing to kind of understand at first when there's a lot of emotion attached to a film. So then I thought, right, the process now I've got to implement to filmmakers is to help them detach emotionally and see the film as a product and not, I mean, obviously it is their baby, but just to detach from that and see it now as now they've made the film, they've gone through the creative process, they've gone through the whole, like blood, sweat and tears. And now it's a completed, finished, polished product, to see it as that. And this product will be like a carton of milk. It'll get used and like seen in different ways. And it's now a finished product and with a different type of engagement. So it's learning that part. When you know how to approach the festival circuit and when you know how to treat rejection as a good thing and to see things differently, you become so much more resilient and really, really strong. And then you just see things very differently and it becomes a lot less stressful. So when you know, it's always easier. But it just can be a journey when it's a new world that might be very different to what you normally expect.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. You're talking about reframing, and that's a really powerful thing. So I know you've helped so many people with that. And as you're talking, I feel like you're also helping me because, and I mean, as a filmmaker, and I've done some acting in the past, and right now I'm a video producer and editor. I mean, rejection is the name of the game. I mean, it's all part of it every single day. Whether I'm pitching ideas or working on a video to show someone, like, it's and it's very personal. Because our work is so personal. Creativity is so personal. So I know when I was on Film Freeway trying to get my film out there, I kept saying I feel very like I'm revealing myself, and I just felt vulnerable because it's like it's my work. It's so close to me and what I represent. And what if people don't get it? And there was just this vulnerability. I was just feeling so anxious about that. I don't know if you ever came across that with any filmmakers, but it's like you're really putting yourself out there, so you just feel almost like naked.
Absolutely. That's really well said, because you do feel very naked when you put the film out there, because it's exposing yourself and your work, like you're naked out there and you're being judged. And you are, to a degree, it is kind of being judged, but not in the harsh kind of way. It's just looking at the film and what they can do with it. They don't know about the backstory or how long it takes to make or how personal it is to you and how it might be your story. But yeah, you're right, is that when you have got that, you finish the film, you've gone through all like the emotions and making it, and that kind of journey is a tough one. Then you put it out there, it's a sense of like, you're feeling very, very vulnerable. People can see, you're being seen, and sometimes people think that they're not going to be seen in a very positive light, all that kind of thing. But it's a lifelong process of learning, I find, with film festivals and also with people's films. It's very subjective. It's something that you can't ignore, because people look at things differently. One person might think it is very moving, the person might not connect or know what to do with it. So if that's what I say with the product, it's just like, do we like this kind of milk? Is it our texture? Is it like really organic, or It's just not doing anything for me. We can't know what to do with it. It's a similar kind of analogy, it's now a product. So it's very important. I always say to filmmakers that when you have finished the film, it's maybe before doing festival submissions to take a step back and maybe just like cleanse and detox from the whole process of filming, post-production and getting it ready, and then see it differently, and maybe wait a few weeks or months to let it do its thing so you can let it go, and then let it do its thing and you feel then you've been seen and you're healed, and let it do its thing.
That is great advice for filmmakers out there who are listening. I wanted to ask about a couple of films that you brought to our festival that we're so grateful for, that you brought to the Chesapeake Film Festival. Would you be able to talk a little bit about the uniqueness of both the films Just Be Awesome, which is such an amazing film, and then The Pearl Comb?
So two very different films. So The Pearl Comb is a fantastic British comedy. It does feature Alice Lowe, who's a very well-known actress in the UK and also beyond. And it's a great relatable story, in terms of like that kind of how it's set in the UK and the job scene and how people in the UK can, fight for jobs because sometimes there's not enough. It's a common story, but it's very relatable by giving that comedic twist. It's very like naturalistic and also very realistic in terms of that setup when you go into a job interview and you're not prepared. It's to like wing it. So it's very much in the case of like, we've all been there in that kind of situation, trying to get a job and not knowing what we wanted, but also in that comedic twist by having some oddball characters and trying to like understand their kind of like way of working and just so off the wall. It's really refreshing and gives it like a new take on that kind of maybe tired cliche, but it's written really beautifully. The producers are great. Gina and Henry are lovely. Her company, Gobby Girl, is hilarious, and she's a great stand-up comic. The two directors, they're both stand-up comics too. They're coming from a background where they know how to do very funny comedy, and it's one I just love watching it because it's so relaxing and so hilarious, but so real and relatable, which is hard for comedy to do and still be very funny. That one's a gem. And The Pearl Comb is a beautiful, exquisite film in terms of execution, the story, and everything, how it looks. So that director, that's his debut, that's his directorial debut, Ali Cook. I worked with him before on a film that he wrote and starred in and produced called The Cunning Man. And that was a similar kind of theme in terms of like the fantasy and like magic reality kind of horror. And that one was great, did really well. So this one's now he's moving to director's chair. And it's just so precise, so gorgeous. Everything about it is like, it's a flawless film. I don't know how, there's nothing wrong with it. It's the right running time, it's the right casting, the right pacing, and it's scary, and the parts it needs to be scary. It kind of draws you into the world and the mermaid and all the clothing, period piece. It's just absolutely stunning. So I'm glad that it's going to be appreciated by the audience at Chesapeake. This is just a film that really is a remarkable debut for a new director.
And I wanted to ask, like, sort of what would you say what kicked off your career? I know you were very involved with the very prestigious horror film festival in the UK.
Yep.
Can you talk a little about that? And that genre in and of itself is fascinating. And I bet watching audiences watch horror must be fascinating. So can you tell us a little bit about that, and how did that sort of, would you say, kick off your career?
It all came by accident. It's amazing how all the best things come unplanned. So I presumed that my career journey and my whole life journey would be move to Wales, a nice remote part of Wales, do my studying, do my PhD, settle down in Wales and, live over there and have a nice chilled out life. But it was the opposite. So when I moved there, I did like Aberystwyth. It took a while to adapt because it's a part of Wales that's very small and cut off, but it's also got its own charm. And I became quite involved with the community. It's a nice small community, and the university is great. And I met lots of great people there. And when I first got acquainted with the theatre that was there, I knew the guy who ran it. I was like, oh my goodness, it's Gaz. Gaz and I went way back when we used to live both in Worcester. I met him he was working at a theatre in Worcester. And I was like, wow, you're here, Gaz. He's like, yeah, I run the theatre here. I'm the manager. And we became close again, reconnected. Then he said, I've been asked to put on a horror film festival by the Film Council of Wales. and do you want to help out? Because it's new to me. I was like, yes. Then I began helping out, and I was like, I really like this. This is really fun to like produce a festival, and the energy here is great. We built up a really good show. Everything's like really well produced, great programming, and it grew and grew to become a well-known, established horror festival. It's part of what's called the European Federation of Fantastic Films, which is a group of festivals who are part of the Médaille d'Or award for high-end genre films. And we became qualified, and it was like a really good, exciting journey. And that's where I found the gap in the market and where the film festival doctor occurred. So really, if there was no abattoir horror festival, there would be no film festival doctor. So I owe that festival everything. And I'm so glad that I would get to with Gaz and it all happened the right way. I did not think when I got to Aberystwyth I'd be creating a brand and I'd be called the festival doctor. I really didn't think that at all. It just happened. But I'm glad it did. I knew at that point, when I was halfway through doing the festival, producing, did it for like 2 years, I was like, definitely not going to be in academia. I really want to get out of Wales and go to London and build up the business. And now I live in Dallas, Texas, so it's a really strange journey. I just wouldn't have to plan it. Don't know where. Maybe I'll end up living the rest of my life maybe here, or maybe I'll just like when I'm 90 go to like New Zealand. It is kind of like, it is weird, but also in a good way, good weird. So it happened the right way. And Abattoir is a brilliant film festival. It's one of the best festivals in the world, not just for genre, but for just film festivals. It's a lot going on there. There is film, which is like we have a midnight slots. We have all these like really challenging, edgy horror films, short films and feature films. There's also the things, there's live music, there is poetry, there's readings, there's a classic film with a live piano. There's everything you could dream of for a horror fan. That's why Gaz changed it from Abattoir Film Festival to Abattoir Horror Festival. So just like a festival of all sorts of like, kind of horror stuff, but not always just film, so he did really mixed it up. And that was a good thing that he did. And he's a great festival director. He's got a great vision. He knows horror inside out. And so do Nia, who's the co-director now, Nia Rebekah. Reese is amazing. And they're just an amazing team. I had to kind of like leave and phase out because Festival Doctor took over and I couldn't do both. And then I have a job. I had a part-time job at the time, and this is my full-time 60 hours a week kind of job. So I couldn't like do it as well, but I always give them films, recommend films to them, and always send films their way because I know that they'll be well after they got selected. I've had some films there over the years, which has been great. So we have a great relationship. So I do miss them. And everyone that wants to go to horror festival, I always say you must go to Abattoir.
Just a couple more questions and we'll wrap it up. How did you come up with the name, the Festival Doctor? Was that you?
Yeah. So that's interesting too, because I originally was going to call it the Film Doctor. And then a friend of mine who was helping me develop the business, my business plan, so I was new to all of this. I didn't do any business courses. He said, I'm not keen on the name. I was like, I like the name. And he said, well, there is actually a blog. There was a blog at the time in the UK called The Film Doctor. So he said that will not be maybe that we've frowned upon. So maybe think about something else. And in the middle of the night, I woke up and I was like, it needs to be called the Film Festival Doctor. Let's be specific what type of doctor it is. And then he was like, okay, that's much better. And I put it together because I wanted to call it Film Festival Doctor because I have a doctorate, so I'm a doctor, and a female, but also I wanted to I saw it as people were coming to me with help fixing their problems to do with film festivals. So I was like, well, the Film Festival Doctor makes more sense. So I didn't plan it to do what it's done now, but I just thought I want to make it put doctor in the title because it's like a different spin on what you would normally see. And then it worked. But it worked with the festival in it. The Film Doctor, he was probably right. It might have been too broad, not specific. And I was at the Film Festival Doctor. He was like, absolutely. And it just clicked by adding that extra word. Then we did the branding. Everything was well suited then with the branding when we did the design and logo. So it was just all incredible how it all built up. And just that extra word made all the difference. That's what you know as the Festival Doctor. So that's brilliant.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, and it's a great conversation starter, and people don't forget that.
Exactly.
People aren't going to forget
exactly. I didn't think that at the time. I was just more focused on knowing how to get the message of the company across. Mm-hmm. And didn't really think too much about the bigger picture. At that point, it was just getting the specifics down and where that would take me.
Do you have a favorite film? you, Rebecca, do you have a favorite film and a favorite genre?
Yes. So favorite film is Pulp Fiction by Tarantino, 100%. So I think that was a poster in the back actually in my
It's
office.
great.
You can probably see. So that gives the
Great
game
guess.
away. But that is 100% my favorite film. Always has been since about 1995 after I saw it when it came out. No other film compares. In terms of genre, I actually love watching a really, really strong documentary. It takes you into a new world and into new things and envelops you. I love kind of the true crime and all that kind of thing. It just really gets you like nuts, like a mystery, solving a mystery, because I like solving patterns and solving mysteries and problems. So I like that. I get quite involved. Like the courtroom consequences are quite fun to watch. But also a good documentary that's like a whodunit and just takes you into a world where you just feel really compelled. Like Catching the Freedmans was a phenomenal documentary. So stuff like that. So yeah, so good docs is always good.
I'm with you. I love documentary. That's
Uh,
why I went to graduate school. I absolutely love there's the power in real stories, real
yes,
people stories, animal
yes.
stories, environmental stories. It's just the reality of that. It just hits you, you know. So, yeah, I can appreciate that too. Well, I just thought of one more question, and then we'll wrap up for sure. Do you have, out of all the work that you've done, do you have a favorite film that the audience or a favorite audience reaction to a film? Is there a time when you were just like totally floored by how an audience was reacting to a film? Is there a moment throughout your career so far that you just like that just stopped you, and why? Like, is there just a moment in your career where you're like, wow, this is not what I expected, or wow, this is just taking me to a whole new level. I'm just really taken back by
Yeah.
this.
I think a good example actually would be a film I represented here that was made in Dallas called Into the Spotlight. So we had the world premiere of the film at the Dallas Film Festival, and it took place in the Texas Theater. So it's a very big theater in Dallas, and it's a beautiful, theater that is historic and has all its history intact. It's actually the place where Lee Harvey Oswald ran into after he shot JFK. So it's very literally historic, but a beautiful building. And this was a big premiere because it was a locally made film, a very strong film about disability and giving people with disability a voice. And obviously, seeing the world premiere, it was with all the cast and crew, their family, friends, locals, filmmakers, a whole mixed bag, and also obviously the people who were in the film who were all disabled. And seeing their reaction, having a 10-minute standing ovation was
My
phenomenal. And that recorded on video is like such a moment you're never ever going to forget. It was magical because it not could have gone a different way. I mean, you might not have had a 10-minute standing ovation, but we did, and everybody was so appreciative of how well the director had presented this community and how we fell in love with them and showed the real them. That's rare to do, and that film went on to do really well after that premiere. But it was just having it locally, with all the right people to see it in the room at the same time and have that response was incredible.
Thank you for sharing that. I bet that was a super powerful moment.
It was wonderful, yeah. And
Wow.
just and there's a great Q&A, but just that standing ovation is really powerful because people
Hmm.
will not sit down until they're fully
That
appreciated the
Oh,
film.
well, Rebecca, honestly, thank you so much. It's amazing to be connected to you. We love our festival wants to continue to support you. Thank you for bringing such incredible films to our festival. It means the world to us. And I just want to remind everyone that the Chesapeake Film Festival this year is going to run in person from October 10th through the 12th. And all information you can find online at chesapeakefilmfestival.com. Thank you, Rebecca.